Only a short game guru can do that, Susie. Only a short game guru.
They call him the short game chef for a reason.
Coach, did you finish #1 in strokes gained around the green last year? Is there anything that you can kind of attribute that to? Was there a change you made, or is there anything that you can kind of attribute that strokes gained number to?
Tough to. I think my short game's always been a strength, but #1 is clearly an indication of being really good. And I'd say the thing that I got better at was distance control on chips. I'd say, you know, all around just having the ball kind of cozy up closer to the hole. And even just the very, very standard ones, I felt like I had some unique skills with the tricky, tough ones, but like the standard chips, just making sure those are kind of within gimme range was something that was a bit elusive to me, and it's gotten better. And this past year clearly was really good.
You and I have talked in the past about some of these. You know, I know you had read this article on one of the old time guys, and they were getting that ball rolling, getting closer to the hole, right?
Yeah.
Can you go a little into some of that detail?
Yeah, there's a guy called Paul Runyon. His nickname was Little Poison, and he was a guy, he would use whatever the club was that would just land on the green and roll out. And he used to stand really close to the ball. He used to kind of put his hands opposing, so a really weak left hand, a really weak right hand, or I guess, and elbows would go out, and he'd just kind of rock his shoulders and never have any real hinge happen. So it'd be very much in control, be a very kind of slowish stroke, but never had the ball really just jump off the club face. So that was something I definitely like to have, that control where you never got the ball coming off really hot. I would hit some that felt like great shots, come out with a lot of spin, but come out low and hot and go too far. And so kind of took that less hinge idea and tried to put that into my technique, and has had the ball come out what I think is a little bit slower and a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is, you know, with the guys these days, you know, the Victor Hovlands, the Matt Wolfs, guys that smash it, right? It's like they do such a good job of creating ball speed off the tee and with their irons. How do you then slow it down properly to still maintain spin around the greens? I think what you're talking about as far as like taking some of the hinge away, you know, we see it with some of the shots that you're hitting, like with a 9-iron, where you're just getting it on the green, running it to the hole, like you're saying, little poison, right?
That's right.
Now, you take a little bit of that philosophy and we bring it to, let's say this is about a 25, 30-yard shot, a little bit of that philosophy, bringing it here with more of a pitch shot type of a stroke. Now, you're not necessarily looking to fly this just on the green and let it roll to the hole. You want this one to have a bit more spin. Take me through some of the keys for you to hit that sort of elusive pitch shot that I think a lot of amateurs like really struggle with, to hit that little mid-flighted one with a little spin off of a tight lie.
My go-to off anything where we're talking fairway cut, not in the rough. My go-to is I want I like to think of it as a wide bottom. I want, if I'm landing an airplane, I want it coming in this way. I don't want it coming in this way. So I want the club traveling kind of along the ground as low kind of on both sides as possible. I feel like that gives me a better margin for error. If I happen to touch turf before I hit the ball, it's still going to be acceptable. If I happen to touch turf before I get to the ball this way, that's not acceptable. Or if I happen to catch too much ball first this way, it's the blade over the green. Yep. So I want, if I'm a little bit, you know, too low coming in when I'm really shallow, it's going to be okay. If I happen to be a little too skinny, it's still okay.
Yep.
I want to give myself a little room for error.
Yeah.
And
that's how you activate the bounce, the back edge of the club, right?
Yeah. So I want the club kind of traveling low, and to me that's coming back without much hinge. I'm moving the handle. If I just move the head and not the handle, you can't really keep it low. It comes up. So I want to move the handle, but I also have it coming slightly inside. I think you're able to keep it lower to the ground. If you're going outside, even with full extension, it comes
higher.
up.
Yep.
So I'm a little bit maybe to the inward path on the way back, but trying to have very little hinge. It will. If I do hinge, though, I'd rather it hinge kind of rolling open with my right hand as opposed to making the wrist go up and down.
Interesting.
I'm kind of going to roll open if I do anything.
Which adds more loft to the club, which engages the bounce a bit more.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the way through, I also want this thing coming around. When I try to go inside to out, I tend to hit too early on the ground. I tend to not get any sort of pinch effect.
Okay.
But if I come back to the inside, I keep that lowness to the ground better by coming back to the inside if I can.
And what do you do? How do you get it to come back to the inside? Is that a feeling with your hands a bit more, or a feeling with your body?
I really feel like the club passes the hands. So the handle gets in front of the hands as early as possible, and I want the club to be leading. That's the only way. I can't really keep it all that low this way, and I also feel like that's too much forward lean,
shaft lean,
putting too much of the leading edge in play and not enough bounce in play.
So one of the commonalities that I always pay attention to with some of the best pitchers, like Stricker. I know Stricker's one of the ones that you mentioned when we talk, is that angle of attack is super shallow. And for fairway cut, I'd say from 2 yards off the green to 50 yards off the green, I'm looking for a pretty shallow angle of attack. Do you change anything once you get past 50? Does it become more like your regular swing?
I'd say when it gets past 70.
70
maybe.
For you? Okay.
Yeah, it does. But up until that point, it's fairly similar, just a bigger version.
So let's get back to, like, we're hitting this 30-yard shot. On that backswing, are you feeling body is pivoting a bit more?
I don't have much thought other than that shallowness.
Shallow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And I know for some people, I'm sure that would help. For me, I think much more club head. I'm more focused on what this is doing.
So keeping that club head on the lower side on the backswing.
Yep.
And then feeling like that club head passes on the way through.
Yes.
Love that. All right. Let me see you hit a couple, and just so the people at home can kind of enjoy this.
Now I've done really well there, going slightly off a upslope. I've hit ground, but I've not taken a divot. And this is easy into an upslope. I think an upslope's really tricky, and that most people come in with, a slight bit of angle. When they come in with a slight bit of angle, they're going to go just under the surface. Now, if you tip that surface up and you still have that angle, you really dive under. So an upslope is always a challenge, even for me, to make really good contact and not stick the leading edge in.
Now this is probably like a 5, 6, 7% slope. If you got to where it's 15% of a slope, are you leaning a bit more into the hill and trying to make sure you hit ball first?
No, exactly the opposite.
Okay.
I lean against it. I take less loft. I'll go down to a gap wedge or a pitching wedge and try to, I don't want, when you get that angle, that again is that plane landing this way.
Yep.
I want to take that out. I'll lean.
You'll lean with it, but take a pitching wedge or something.
And go, much less lofted.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great, I think that's something that's really unique, because basically that pitching wedge is now, with that loft, becoming your 60 degree.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're doing everything you can to maximize good turf interaction, right? That's sort of the philosophy.
Yeah.
Man, I love that. That last shot right there, if we didn't get it on camera, ended up about this far away from the hole. Had a beautiful flight to it. And so he's landing this about 20 yards. It's rolling out about maybe three or four steps.
Yeah.
Nice mid-flight sort of trajectory. And I'd say one of the things that I see quite a bit with the amateurs that I help is the path. The path for the amateurs tends to get too far outside. And one of the commonalities I notice with a lot of great players, the Patrick Reeds, great pitchers of the ball, Patrick Reed, Kevin Na, Stricker, these guys are all arcing to the inside, yourself as well.
Yeah.
Always arcs to the inside with a pitch shot off of a tight lie. To me, that's something that gets forgotten about. Most people think, I just need to keep it on my hands or outside of my hands because I want to, soften it by
first.
hit ball first.
All worried about getting ball first and feel like they're going to get turf first if they come back inside. And that's where I try to get the club to then go back to the inside on the through swing, so that it is going to pinch ball first. But again, I want this as
the most
easy
brush.
and low, I can get.
What's your if you try to change trajectories, what is a key if you wanted to go a fraction higher?
Higher as the ball gets more forward in my stance.
More forward in the stance, same type of release and motion.
Exactly. I may have a slightly bigger backswing, slightly slower swing, but ball will just get more forward with a bigger, slower swing.
Will you show me one real quick? Just a higher. We're still going about 20. Man, that's unbelievable how good that is. So now that ball actually, landed 2 yards further,
right,
and actually stopped 2 yards quicker than the previous one.
It was probably 6 feet higher than the others, 7 feet higher. Still no divot, which I think is a sign of a good strike. I've certainly made a good bit of turf interaction, but if you're using the bounce correctly, you can bang this thing into the ground and not take a divot. So I think you can kind of tell a good wedger in my mind if you look at his practice area and it's not all chewed up.
I totally agree. I think that's the first giveaway. If a guy's warming up and he hits a bunch of 20, 30, 40-yard shots and he's got a bunch of divot there, you know the guy's either really talented with his hands to get away with that, or he's just not a great wedger.
Not very consistent with it.
Not very consistent.
Yeah.
I think that one of the interesting things to take away from is how you have managed to become #1 in strokes gained around the green, and your philosophies are basically managing your turf interaction, managing your low point, your turf interaction. Actually, you're not that concerned with your low point. It's really like you're like, if I hit the ground before the ball, it's okay because you've done other things really well to then have that miss still be in that 4-foot circle.
It's a very shallow attack angle I'm looking for, and you're right. That gives me that margin for error. I don't have to be perfect.
And you've created that shallow attack angle with less hinge and with a path that's from the inside.
Correct.
And so I think all this stuff is stuff that you guys have heard me preach on this website for years. This is what I've been preaching. It's cool to hear you say it, and that's one of the things that you've keyed in on off of a fairway lie from 5 yards to 70 yards off the green, really chasing that shallow attack angle. It's helped you manage your distance control, which is what we talked about. Why you've gotten so good is that you've managed your distance control so well. It's fun to watch, man. Thanks for sharing some secrets. This is incredible stuff. I got goosebumps because this is the stuff that that I've been preaching for a while now, and it's neat to hear it verbalized from the guy who literally led the PGA Tour in strokes gained around the green last year. So, Kuch, you're the man.
Love it, Parker.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks for checking out the videos. If you want more great content to help lower your scores, check out shortgamechef.com. All my best information lives there.